Are you sitting in your mom's basement all day playing Sonic 2 like a loser? Well, then you may be a victim of No More Innocence. Today, we'll be explaining what No More Innocence is, as well as going into the story of No More Innocence, and by the end of this video, you should have a good understanding of what he is and what his horrifying intentions are. No More Innocence was created by Dumby Dummy and is essentially a Japanese yokai or spirit. No More Innocence, much like JC-the-Hyena, chooses little kids as his main source of victims. No More Innocence feeds on the target's love of Sonic the Hedgehog through a bootleg copy of Sonic 2. He's an entity with an air of death that has become very skilled at manipulating his victims to ensure they keep playing his bootleg copy, feeding him and giving him what he wants, and in the process turning his victims' adoration for Sonic into an addiction. One such method of manipulation can be seen across this image right here. Do you want him to bruise your body again? That belt has completely explored your poor back, and yet you hesitate about locking the door to keep playing with me? With this, we can see he often plays a similar card to Childhood is Past, but we'll explore him in a different video. What you do need to know though is that he offers an addiction disguised as comfort, as peaceful bliss, as a distraction from your daily troubles. In terms of appearance, No More Innocence has three different forms, the first one being his hedgehog form, another being his human form, which seems to go by the name of Makoto, and lastly his true form. His hedgehog form seems to resemble a tall Sonic, but rather with a human skull-like face rather than one like Sonic's. He also appears to have more quills or spikes on the back of his head, while also having an overall slimmer build. His human form, aka Makoto, is a dark-haired man with slim eyes and appears to wear a suit, although that's really all we know because there are not many images of his human form. His true form though is where I'm just a little bit lost. His true form, from the research I've done, seems to essentially look like just human anatomy, but stripped of any recognizable features, kind of like a human being stripped of his skin. No More Innocence does have his own story, but I'm going to shorten it a tiny bit and instead read you an improvised, shortened version for the video. About a week after the release of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 in Japan, many reports came in regarding nameless Sega Genesis cartridges containing mediocre imitations of the game. These reports, though, were focusing on the symptoms of the children playing these fakes. To be exact, there are 10 confirmed cases, and a few of these bring up kids not being able to walk or even keep themselves standing. Although these symptoms are not consistent, what is consistent is one thing. They all insist they're fine and wish to continue playing the bootleg. Most of the cases simply flew under the radar until being rediscovered recently, though no proper studies have been made due to similar cases beginning to appear in America around this time. Most of the investigators who have tried to intervene with the problem and find a solution have begun to experience trouble sleeping and severe paranoia. While the number of confirmed cases has not gone up, the amount of people attempting to call 911 has been growing at an excessive rate. These calls, though, are shown to be unhelpful and regarded as incomprehensible due to a noise resembling static or a third voice talking over the caller. For a short period of time, though, there was hope. A police department in Scottsdale, Arizona had been making progress finding the root of the case, with one of the officer's kids suffering from the effects himself. Although, as all the attention was focused on the group in Scottsdale, information from other cases began getting swept under the rug, which drove many other cases into obscurity. This tactic proved to not be so rewarding once the progress seemingly stopped, and not a single update from the team since. It's speculated, though, that the case ended its progress once the lead officer, father of the ill child, quit his position once running into a dead end, his only results being his child in a hospital bed. Despite all of this, any news coverage on this series of tragedies has lost its fuel, and any new reports are all leftovers from previous occurrences. However, strange activities surrounding Sega have become apparent, with posters being hung up near the area, claiming there is an individual lying about their position at Sega, claiming they are not a real person. And that's the entire story. With this in mind, and prior given context, we can only assume that No More Innocence has invaded Sega and that's how he's able to distribute the bootleg copies. But first, let's dive into his abilities, because this will give further evidence for this. No More Innocence acts and behaves similar to a poltergeist, being able to move objects from outside the TV screen the child is playing on. He is also able to shapeshift and morph his face into a human-like appearance, which gives the victim a sense of security, making it much more easy to manipulate them. Using this while also whispering and beckoning to the victim, He's able to easily manipulate someone into playing the bootleg, giving them reasons to keep playing, giving them a reason to be distracted. On top of this, he can control the intensity of the symptoms, with one of these symptoms being hallucinations and illusions. On top of all of this, he can manifest himself into TV ads, newspaper ads, and phone calls, which would explain the incomprehensible phone calls in the story. Lastly though, if No More Innocence can reach into people's psyche, which is a result of the bootleg being sold as many times as the licensed copies, he can then manifest himself into the real world with a human identity in disguise, allowing him to blend in as a Sega developer as if he'd always been there. That little bit at the end tells us everything. He has already manifested himself into the real world, and that's how he's able to so easily distribute these bootleg copies. That's at least what I believe though, because of the ending of the story with posters being hung up claiming that one person was lying about their position and was not a real person. Overall, No More Innocence is one of the most creative EXEs out there. I know I've said this with UNL because, oh, it's not a spooky demon hedgehog, and the case is very similar this time. Except No More Innocence is as realistic as an EXE story can get. The horror in the story does not come from a Japanese yokai manipulating kids into playing a bootleg copy. It comes from exploring the very real problem of addiction. No More Innocence represents addiction itself, and addiction is a very big problem whether or not you've seen smoke addicts or drug addicts. It's a very real issue. He represents the idea of people listening to the voice in their heads, comforting them about their addiction, and giving them reasons to escape from their problems with their addiction. For example, this image discussed earlier. This is a very real concept of addictions forming to cover the trauma of abuse. I may be digging too deep into this, but that's just my take on the story of No More Innocence. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. My name is AvertexFire. 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 AvertexFire.